I've had discussions with former performers who teach now that in some ways I think teaching voice is more creative than singing. Because you have to be really creative. You have to meet the person that comes into your studio, figure out how they learn, try to find the right words or the right gestures or the right way in for them. I certainly enjoy the puzzle aspect of it. I like to problem solve. I like the fact that there's not just one solution, that there's different ways to come at things. What I have learned now that I'm teaching full-time is that how long it actually takes a voice to settle. I mean, I'm very aware of my own trajectory, very aware that I was a very different singer at 40 than I was at 30 even. At 50, again, very different singer. I'm amazed, and I mean that part of the thrill of being in Toronto teaching now is that I work with quite a few professionals. And what an eye-opener to the world of, you know, some of these elite singers and how they work. You know your own work, but the fact that some of these people are just constantly craving and striving for easier, better, more expressive. It just doesn't stop. I blogged once about that, you know, that was sort of a requirement of a singing career. If you love being alone in a room or with a coach or with a teacher, figuring out how to improve your D sharp to E, then this is the career for you. If you love that, go for it. And I learned this actually from Mary Morrison when I studied with her and I was first living in Toronto, was that it was not a dictation but an exploration. And I think good teaching is that you have very firm aesthetic principles about what you think good singing is. But Mary was always very adamant about that every lesson was an exploration. It was not her dictating, this is what an ah vowel needs to sound like. This is what you should be. This is what your vibrato should be. It was always like, let's try this. I think good singing is something that in the moment of the performance makes you unaware of the singing. You know, as a voice teacher, when I'm at a performance and my voice teacher ears go click off, it's good singing. We're aware of beauty, we're aware of being taken somewhere, but we're not necessarily aware of the mechanics. I think good singing is making the mechanics way, way, way in the background so that beauty and emotion and message can be in the front. It was basically a weekend for high school students, for singers. And I believe it was the first summer, but the first summer there were 6 singers who included Jane Archibald, Misha Ruger-Gosman, and Pascal Baudin were 3 of the 6. So it was quite a first experience. And they were all like 15, 16 years old. It just was it seemed like a nice evolutionary thing to what it is now, which is 3 programs, a long week, a 5-day program for undergrads, a week-long program for basically masters, young artist program. And now last summer we started a 4-day professional development program by invitation for people who are already in the field who just want to have a refresher. We're quite proud of what we can accomplish in that short amount of time. I always joke with people, it's like, you know, pull off the 401 and just work on your process a little bit. That's what we do there. You know, my husband often says to me now that I'm teaching at university, well, what did you sound like as an undergrad? And I was like, I really have no idea. But somewhere I've got, actually I think maybe at Christmas I'll go back and I'm sure I've got some cassette tape somewhere of my undergrad recital. We had done this cosy together and she said, oh, I've got the CBC tape. Would you like a copy of it? I said, I would love that. I said, I think I have it somewhere. So I said, would you send it to me? So she posted it to YouTube, which was a little distracting at first, but then all my students heard it, and then I finally sort of dared to listen to it. I was like, gee, that wasn't half bad. I definitely know that I was not as aware of registration balance and certainly not support in the way that I would teach it now. So listening to that, I hear, wow, the registration is pretty good. she just definitely needs a better concept of how she approaches the top with her support. That was my analysis of the Come Scolio.